Good evening. It's Saturday. What do I say? For those of you who follow me on some form of social media platform, other than Twitch, and YouTube, you will have seen that earlier today I posted a video. Because frankly, it made me laugh. I initially went to Google, found myself a video generating AI thing, right? Because I thought, well, other than the simple countdown, it might be nice to have, little video, do a bit of a montage of a few clips of the things that I've made, but, some decent footage of some woman making some lace, preferably just the hands. So I wanted a top-down view of people making lace. Now, I've amassed quite a few hours of this, after all, and I am not alone, for there are a number of tutorials all done in a top-down manner. So with a very simple premise of, hey, do me a video of someone making bobbin lace on a blue pillow with, torchon, kind of thing, making lace with bobbins. What I got back was something out of the worst kind of Stephen King fucked up horror movie you ever did see. I mean, one hand must have had about 90 fingers. It was, yeah, we're safe from AI, people. AI is not going to have my job in the foreseeable future. I mean, yeah, sure, one day, I'm not going to say it's not got purposes in life, but it does suck on other things. Right, so let me, let us move to the pillow and get on with the task that it failed to do so absolutely. It was really quite amusing. So if you have not visited the social medias, !social should inform you of the choices, or they're on the about page, to be honest. You gotta go see it. It is absolutely hysterical, and to be honest, while AI does do some things exceptionally well, I really do think it does. There are clearly aspects of AI that are not yet ready for the world, and I saw a video this morning of Asmongold, who is after all rather famous in many parts, basically trying to get it to do AI of a streamer that potentially could be him, right? It was quite clear from that while he did get somewhere in the end, he'd also spent $100 on credits to feed into said AI bot, because it was one you need to pay for, before he even remotely could generate. And he kind of fairly well described himself, gave his age, he described various features and things about his room. For those who don't know, Asmongold is fairly not house proud, which is I can relate to, but he makes me feel better about my life. Anyway, he's missing some teeth, and he's going a bit bald, and he's only 34. So he's nearly 20 years. Well, he's 19 years my junior. So let's not pretend that he hasn't got some curious. How did you do that? It's alright. There's a knot in the thread. That he is kind of a well-recognised individual after all, and you can find him on YouTube very readily, and here on Twitch as well. But it did make me laugh that he he really struggled for it to do as it was told. He you know, he asked for it specifically to say the words "big dick damage." Fine, whatevs. But he also wanted it to be a fan of World of Warcraft, just like he is. And it couldn't separate those two statements, even though it had quotes round, say, you know, the catchphrase kind of thing. It would then also say the rest of it, and it's like, that's not what I said. So, we all know that AI, per se, does not read. It takes, as Dr. Penny DeBille would so kindly point out, it statistically predicts, or it predicts using statistics, the next most likely word. And, you know, given these were, you know, so, you know, it scoured the internet for information, and this is what it's come back with. Which is why I have maintained for quite a while now that it is not that good for programming. And lots of people go, oh, it's logic, it should be great at it. Well, yeah, it should. But you've also got to remember, 90% of the code that you find on the internet is accompanied by, this does not work and I don't understand why not. Or this doesn't do what I thought it should do. Or there is a bug in, you know, that there's always some form of, you know, kind of small sentence stating, basically, do not copy this crap because, well, it doesn't do what you think it does, right? But, with all of that in mind, well, that's half the stuff it reads, isn't it? So is it too surprising then when someone posts some code that, you know, hey, I have this, you know, 50-year-old code that doesn't work anymore because, well, all the libraries have changed and, you know, a whole host of other good, valid reasons. You know, can someone help me, you know, bring it up to date or whatever? This thing is seeing that code and going, oh, look, pretty code, I like that. Doesn't make it good code, you know? Doesn't mean it works right. Doesn't mean it follows the principles that you want it to follow. Even if you said, you know, I want it to follow these principles. Plus, 9 times out of 10, especially with programming, the amount of additional information you need to give it to get remotely what you wanted, even though context, etc., is usually included, is quite scary. Well, I get that. But if you saw, I mean, Naughty Cow, I haven't sent you it. Hang on, let me send you it. You can, well, actually, let's show it on the screen, because why not? It is hysterical. So bear with me one moment as I'll do the screen thing, actually. Hang on. Let me do this. So, hang on. Delete that, delete this. Let's just shrink all of those. No, you're not going to do that for me. That's typical Windows. You hit Windows D for desktop and it does nothing. Thank you. So let me bring up this. Go to downloads. Right. I need to promise. You need to understand. Naughty Cal, can you promise me you can see my desktop so you can see a pile of files and my mouse wiggling around? I'll assume you can. This was me asking it. Okay, so this was me, and the prompt basically was, I've got the exact wording. Hang on. Prompt was, a top-down view of a blue lace making pillow with someone making torchon bobbin lace with bobbins. And I added the with bobbins because, well, yeah. Now, watch this lower hand, this right hand, the two lower hands. The top ones do weird actions, but they do look mostly, I use that word gently, mostly like hands. It's the bottom two that weird me out. And then the fact that if you look carefully, underneath this bottom section, there are leftover fingers, okay? Now, I didn't expect it to be long. It's only 4 seconds. But that's 4 seconds of creep, right? As I say, it's this lower right one that creeps me most. I mean, the bottom left one looks like a hand at least to start with. This bottom right one looks like some form. I mean, it's just not good. And then the top ones do weird actions for someone rolling down the thing. And then you could. Let's try and stop it at the end. Hang on. Let's move to the end. If you look here, underneath the blue, you can see what looks like various hands still underneath it. Plus, I don't know quite what this is. Because it's not crochet. Certainly not lace. It's just... I mean, there's just like loops of things. And it's just random string held together by prayer, by the looks of it. But it's this lower hand here. I mean, if I zoom back, I mean, there's like 6 fingers all being scrunched together down on the left. But this one on the right, there's just something. I mean, there's. Well, they do, and I know exactly which one you mean, but it just kind of freaks you out that there's all these extra fingers that kind of, it just, seriously, dudes, we are safe from AI, we really, really are. Yeah, we will be all right at this point in time. You know, they might be okay at doing some things, but clearly making videos is not one of them. I mean, quite a lot of the AI videos usually have bad hands. Well, I'd hope you'd have slightly less fingers, my friend. I mean, I've seen your hands. You don't have like 28 fingers on your hands. It just kind of freaks you out. Yeah. You know, they still use it in parts of the world. Rather worryingly. I already made you short. Oh, why is it? I spend my entire life making these bobbins short. Yeah, I thought you might. I mean, let's truly be honest. If that's its bestest, then, well, I'm not worried yet. I feel fairly safe. I mean, as I said, one of the biggest problems I have when I'm writing programs is that everyone kind of goes, use AI, you shouldn't have to write that. Darling, if that's what it, given the amount of data that you can collect about making lace and the pictures and all the rest of it, that's the best you can offer, I can tell you now, the quality of programming advice it gives is about the same. There is just something inherently screwed up. And I made a mistake back here, and I wonder if I can fix it. Don't suppose I can. Let's undo this then. But yeah, you know, one of the simplest examples I can give you is, I said, if I give you a number of objects such as these bobbins, I want you to take the left one and the right one from your viewpoint and to align the others evenly between it. Now, you and I both know that you take the number of bobbins that you have, you add one, divide the distance by it, and then place the middle, you know, one each end and those equidistant in the middle. It couldn't do that. Couldn't do it. It's after about 6 iterations, it still wasn't even moving the items. Well, and this is the thing. I have, you know, indirectly, I don't really care if my videos get used for AI training. Indirectly. Don't really mind, because it's not like I'm here producing educational videos, and it's not like I'm trying to make my money out of it. It's not like this is a business, right? But at the same time, if that's what they're going to do to me when they do it, if they're going to turn me into 98 fingers and you know, 16 heads or something, then, well, I kind of do mind, because, you know, I may not be entirely normal, but geez, I ain't that normal. You know, I'm not that weird. And so there is a lot of me that just kind of goes, indirectly, I don't really mind. But at the same time, I kind of do mind. I do kind of expect a level of I know, if you're going to use it, do it right, you know? I don't want to see my hands, you know, turning into 96 fingers. I don't want to see, you know, if you're going to call it, don't be calling it crochet, you know? Don't be calling it knitting. Don't be, you know, I want it used correctly. So yeah, what I was trying to do was make an intro video. So that you didn't just have to look at the square for a minute. But, you know, if that's the best it can manage, well, maybe the square isn't so bad, you know. So I'm trying to move the knots so that they are there is a little bit of that. I mean, you know, I'm not in desperate, you know, I'm not really overly desperately keen for it to replace me, so, you know, if it gets it wrong, that's, you know, I'm not going to report it as incorrect answers, you know. I'll let, you know, if they can't work out that that's a pile of shite, well, you know, more for you for getting people to try and... Mind you, this is the other thing. I used a free one, so I don't really care. But if you just paid, like Asmongold did, $100, and that was what you got, I'd be mad. Because in trying to, for him to try and generate a video of something that could be him, he blew through his $100 worth of credit, right? And he only generated a couple of videos. Well then, you know, if it's going to cost me $100 to produce something that bloody awful, I would be somewhat miffed. Because, well, that's a lot of money to make something that looks that bad, right? And I'm going to blow through my drink quite quickly today, so I'll need... But it's just that the fingers, it's... Nearly every video, he had one and he had this streamer, and it did look like a streamer. It looked like, you know, half the streamers that if you go looking at gamers on YouTube and you can see their room, it looked like half their room. It was a fairly plain, simple room, couple of shelves, a bit of a backlight, you know, a gaming chair, a monitor, a mouse, a keyboard, dude with a headset, right? It, you know, it could have been anyone. But then you heard frantic typing, but the guy's hands weren't near the keyboard. Or his fingers disappeared. At one point, he looked pterodactyl in that he only had, like, one finger here and no other fingers. And it was kind of like... It seems to be hands that they're really, really crap at. Hang on. Why is that not adding up? Hang on. 1, 2, 3. Yes, it does. It's alright. Brain farts. So, yeah. Hands seem to be a bit of a Achilles heel for them. Well, yeah, I mean, if you were... I think one of the sad parts is the number of people who try to pretend that this is their own hard work when you can see blatantly that it's not real, that it's... Why aren't you twisted? You should be. Well, like everything. I mean, I watched an advert... Well, I didn't intentionally watch it, but I ended up watching an advert for a thing to encourage you to practice your musical instrument. Now, as someone who can play a number of musical instruments, I was mildly interested as to, you know, what this thing did to encourage you, because, you know, as a child I was just very much unencouraged. I was very much not in the mood to be doing my practice. Therefore, I was kind of curious how they were going to try and, you know, get you to do it. Was it, you know, number of notes played, you know, you get points, and, you know, with enough points you can do things, and, you know, or what, right? And they show a pianist who's clearly not fucking playing the piece of music in front of them. They show like a piece of music and the music playing and the music on the music stand is accurate. Those hands are not playing that. And I've always had this problem with watching TV. I have no problem with people, you know, if they... Sorry, let me try and explain this better. Again, words are not my friends. I don't really mind that they have actors in programs that can't play the instrument. But at the same time, don't then show them playing it. You know, have them mostly, you know, have them kind of like, if you're going to have the piano teacher thing, right? If you're going to have someone supposedly playing the piano, have them sitting where you can't see the hands. So you can't really tell. Have them, you know, vaguely move in time to the music. So that's great. Because most people can tell if notes go up or down, right? So, you know, move a little bit. You know, kind of maybe if you're a pianist, rock a little bit. Because pianists always seem to rock. Difficult ones are violins. Because you need to use both hands. And not necessarily together. So, in general, you know, have them hold the violin. Watch the person's reaction to them playing. Try and avoid showing them allegedly playing. Now, there are musicians, there are an awful lot of actors can play. Now, maybe, they are not, if they can play the instrument in question, then show them playing it. It doesn't matter if they sound like a drowned cat and that they're not very good, right? If they are capable of wafting in the remote general direction, so, even if all the notes are flat and it sounds a bit like a strangled cat, and all the people on set want to vomit, but it will look fairly authentic because the fingers are moving in the right way, to the right places, give or take a little bit. And one of the things that I found very frustrating was a Doctor Who scene. In one of the openings of Pete Capaldi's episodes, he's playing the guitar and muttering on about Beethoven's Fifth, right? And about how, if you go back and, you can't find Beethoven, so you leave all the music behind, who then actually wrote Beethoven's Fifth, right? Kind of a paradoxy question, and, kind of interesting. Now, the problem I had was the piece of music he was playing at the beginning of the episode was clearly guitar music, and so, matches. It's not like it was just him talking over something and there happened to be music playing. He was actually playing. Now, I am not going to dispute that he probably played the piece of music that we heard, because I am aware he can play. But the actual fingering and movements he was doing at the beginning of the episode do not match. Well, seriously, you're telling me that if he can play that thing that he couldn't have at least pretended? Well, I'm sure he did, maybe for the first 3 takes, and got bored. And unfortunately, it was one of the bored ones that they ended up using. But, as someone who watches, when it's blatantly obvious they ain't playing it, it just puts you off. It's a bit like pretty much anything, right? Nautical. It's a bit like when you had a look at you had a look at those rope beads. Your brain goes, well, that doesn't work. And that's it. It's hard to take it serious after that. And it's the same with computing. If anyone ever used to watch Bugs, which was a kind of late 80s, early 90s computing kind of hacker type program, where Craig McLaughlin from Neighbours and Jesse from Howard's Way, or whatever the hell it was, no, you're gonna get a pair. Shut up. But you know what I mean. If you take one look at it and go, well, that ain't right. It's a bit like, well, that ain't lace, that's crochet, or that's not knitting, that's crochet, or that's not crochet, that's knitting. When you look at it and your brain instantly knows that they're talking crap, it switches off and kind of gets up, walks out the room, and you're left like a little kind of empty husk going, best go with it, best go see, because, and I'm sure lots of professions do it, whether it's medical, whether it's safety, military, whatever it is, right? I'm sure they look at some things and go, oh, fuck off. Like, what idiot thinks that's real? Now, sure, if you have 0 clues, then some of it probably washes. But when, it's not your bag and even there's something wrong with it, well, it's probably pretty shit. But when I watch anything with music in, first thing I do is look and go, well, you're not playing that, and move on. Which actually was one of the biggest shocks I had when I went to watch a play. I watched a play, and to be honest, the play was bollocks. Utter shite. However, there were a couple of aspects of it that were quite interesting. Now, the premise was that these giants, or whatever they were, had taken over the land, and that they required, entertainment. And this troupe of entertainers had come along and was going to have a go. And there were some real questionable, really, you needed to do that kind of moments, such as the guy stripped naked and had a bath in a trough in the middle of the play. Kind kind of didn't need that. Really didn't add to the experience. But, same guy, rather unfortunately, did do something slightly impressive. Which was, they got round the campfire and were singing and playing music. And he was playing. He was playing the violin that he was holding. I thought, like normal, it would be someone down in the pits, right? And that they would just kind of pretend and there'd be no strings or something. No, he was actually playing. And, squinting from afar, I could see he actually was playing the piece of music, and it was what we heard. And my friend who I was with took me to one of the bars there afterwards, and the cast came in and I was like, shit. And of course, without giving too much away, I'm not overly keen on seeing people naked if I don't have to. And of course, dude who'd stripped off naked and played the violin came and sat next to me, which my friend told them great delight about how embarrassed I was by this, the action of having a bath in the middle of the play. And now I also need to point out that one of the people in the play was the Tango Exploding Granny, right? So, while they weren't, people like Brian Blessed and, really big names, they were proper actors. It was not like, school play job. It was kind of, if the world could have swallowed me up, it would have been nice, it has to be said. But, I did, my friend did cop quite a smack for that. But, I did say to him, you actually played that violin, didn't you? And he went, yeah, how did you know? I said, well, I can see. I've got eyeballs, I can see. Well, I said, it's really unusual to actually see someone, in a play or a film or whatever, actually playing it. Usually it's someone. He goes, no, it's one of the few things that I won't do. I will not pretend to play the musical instrument. If I can't play it, I won't do it. And if I can do it, I will do it. There is no, you can kind of sort of waft your hands around in the right direction, we'll dub over it stuff. No, it was one of the few kind of rules that he had, was that, if there's music playing by my character and I'm going to be doing it, I will do it as long as I'm capable. And, hats off to the dude. I'm not going to, to be fair, that's a really good bit of kind of internal ruling to have, in my opinion. Because far too many just don't. Far too many, you watch, there was, there's a video on YouTube about it, but there was a video series about kind of some kid who gets into a music school. They don't play though. Well, then pick a different actor. Unless you're talking like Johnny Depp, of course, who can play. But if you've got someone who's really famous and can't play it, but is otherwise perfect, I kind of get it. If you need a big name, Tom Cruise, whatever, right? Then I kind of get it. But when there are a bunch of nobodies that people probably won't recognise from anything, get a different nobody who can actually do it. It's a bit like, if you're going to hire someone for a job, don't hire them because they're pretty. Don't hire them because they're the boss's son. Hire them because they can do the bloody job, And so I do have this real resentment for films and programmes that get someone you've never seen before, but don't bother to pick one who actually can do the task at hand. I mean, they might only be in the one kind of section that's like 2 minutes long. Well, then get one who can actually play it, for Christ's sake. So many actors can play something, and if they can't play that, well, just, you're determined it's got to be them, either change the instrument that they play, or change the scene, or don't, because anyone who can tell them. I mean, part of the problem with Bugs, for anyone who remembers back that far, part of the problem with Bugs was that they used speed disk to decrypt stuff. No, that's defragmenting your disk, darling. It doesn't change the data in any way. Let's not be stupid. And it comes free with DOS, for Christ's sake. It came free with DOS. Don't be such an arse, It was just one of those kind of moments, is that you found yourself going. So of all the programs, you didn't even get someone to write you a little basic program that kind of threw up random letters and moved a percentage bar. No. You took a well-known part of program that we all know and have seen and used it for the wrong stuff. No. It was a bit like, I couldn't contain myself at this one, and I'm impressed I got out with alive. When Jurassic Park came out, and the little girl goes, "Oh wait, that's Unix. I know that." Bitch, that's not Unix. That's a flight simulator. Oh, fuck off. Unix is command line for starters. Yes, it can do a windowed front end, but no right-minded Unix person generally uses them. So, and especially not then. So, and you'd have to have had a son really for it to work properly, or a CAD machine. And as you had, I think it was Apple. Don't be so fucking wet. First of all, Apple did not run Unix back then. OS X is Unix based, of course, but that came about like 20-something years later. Let's not pretend that this shit is real, right? This is not Unix. Don't be so wet. And I went, and of course she went, "This is Unix. I know that." And I went, "No, it's not." in a theatre full of people. But it does somewhat put you off the whole. I mean, I'm not. Or it's a bit like Men in Black, where Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith are up in the alien ship. They've flown up there and they've written a virus, because of course all operating systems are compatible, and all computers are going to have interfaces that are the same, I mean, we've still got 900 drawers of different cables, for Christ's sake. You really think one of our shits is going to plug straight into the alien hardware? But apparently, yes, it does. And of course, they've written a virus that's absolutely compatible. Really? Oh, bobbin, stop being annoying. So, yeah. Again, it's that kind of, I could get you've written a virus. Yep. I'll accept that, you who have shown no computing power whatsoever in the film to date have written a virus. Fine, I'll accept that. I don't know why, but yeah, okay, I'll stretch that far. But you just plug into the alien technology and it all magically uploads itself. Really? It's a bit like films in the 80s and 90s where their little text-based screens automatically did graphics. Secondly, every person only ever switched their computer off by... Will you stop doing this? Why not playing me around, Naughty Cat? It's been a naughty boy. I'm obviously pulling it unevenly. There we go. But they'd also... So they'd switch their computer off by switching just the monitor off. And then, of course, it would all mysteriously wake up when the modem rang. And you're kind of going, really? So it's going to automatically spring back to exactly where you left it, because you didn't actually turn it off. But it's going to automatically answer and let you do whatever the hell you like. Really? You do know you need software listening for that, right? Yeah. Do not take me to films involving computing. It's not good. It is not a good thing. Not unless you wish to hear for about the next 16 weeks how wrong it was. But yeah, I think especially with, you know, the fact that hello, I do think that with the fact that there are so many actors in the world, and you know, if you can't be asked to find one that's even remotely capable of the task at hand. Now, obviously, there are going to be things that this is maybe not true. So, you know, flying the space shuttle and, you know, all of those kind of things are things that you will not expect to find in someone who can do. But all it takes is to spend a few hours with a man who can, and to learn and watch what they do enough that you can vaguely see, right, well, you know, that always goes with this, and when they say that, they always do this, so I know that even if I couldn't do it, I would stand a chance of being in the right ballpark. I mean, if you've watched enough medical stuff, you have ideas of how it's all supposed to hang together. She says I haven't got that up. No, I didn't cut that up. I cut that up. You're supposed to be up here. I was right the first time. Let's undo that and go back to what I was doing the first time. So yeah, it is one of those moments when you find yourself kind of going, with all the actors that are out there, with all of the actors who are desperately looking for work, you couldn't be asked to find one who's capable of the task. Really? As I said, I kind of understand it, you know, if you've got Harry Potter and, you know, J.K. suddenly writes in the book that Hermione's, you know, an accomplished musician, and that Emma Watson was just not. Well, then, you know, fair enough, that's a little bit more complicated, because obviously they started filming the films before J.K. had finished writing the books. But then you skip that bit. I mean, they skip plenty of other important bits. Why not skip that bit? I don't know. It just bugs me. And as I say, I get that there are times when there are going to be things that your actors will never have experience of doing. But surely you get a specialist in who can show them how it normally works and what it would look like. And they spend a bit of time for their many millions learning how to make it at least look like they're doing it, even if they're actually not. As I say, even if the actual playing of the instrument, for example, sounds like a wailing cat, but at least, you know, and it's all out of tune, and it's, you know, there's a few bum notes and a few hit-miss strings or whatever, right? No one said it had to be great, but at least if it looks like you're playing it, it's not so bad. But when it just doesn't even remotely kind of coincide, it just screams lazy, really, on both departments, because not only did the actor not take any time to try and learn how to fake that bit for the scene. I mean, you only have to do it for a short while, so it's not like you've got to, you know, reach grade 8 and be amazing, just enough to make it look like you're doing roughly the right thing, because usually they only show very short snippets. As I say, no one said you had to play it well, you know, it's just got to look a bit like you're playing it. And yes, it would be funny to hear the outtakes of them actually playing it. But I don't know, I just find it frustrating to watch programs where they're blatantly not doing the actions in the film. Now, obviously, in some parts, they can do it, so they show, you know, I don't know, actor at piano, moving arms slightly, and then you cut to somebody else's hands. Well, that works. That works. At least the thing in the film looks like it's being played, and in the beginning it looks like the actor might be playing something roughly with the right directions, and you know, when they cut to hands, they look like they're playing the right bit of the music. I mean, you know, that's all we ask. That's all we actually want. No one says you can't lie to us, but at least make it convincing, you know? Put some effort in. Did anyone watch Doctor Who today? Well, fair enough. All I can say is tonight's episode, which was the end of this second series of Shooty Katra, the Doctor Who episode ended very much on a what the actual F is that? So I'm a bit confused. My day was alright, actually. Very unusual for me. I felt reasonably positive today. Didn't exactly achieve a lot. I got a few levels in Path of Exile 2. I looked at my lace strip a little bit more from yesterday, swore at it, and then kind of ignored it again. I spoke to Trev to tell him that the dog escaped on Thursday, and you know, the fun and games I had with that. Been talking with my co-worker about various aspects of life. Because we both had the same thought. Last weekend, during a Liverpool football match, or after, whatever, a man drove a car into the crowds and injured people, and has been arrested. Now, the man was about my age, and we know his name because, well, he was arrested. It's been announced in the papers. And both he and I had a double take because the name of the dude was exceptionally similar to the owner of the company we work for. So we both had that. Wait, hang on. Because although a picture has been released of them, the picture is not a dissimilar looking dude, to be honest. So yeah, we both had that kind of, wait, hang on, checks. Oh no, it's not the right name. Okay, but it's very, very similar. My co-workers just found out the news that I was trying not to tell them. About Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought my co-worker kind of liked this particular person, but apparently not. They've written, I hear that insert person is this, and who thought that was a good idea? I've omitted a few words, clearly. It's kind of like, yeah, that's very much what I thought, actually. My thoughts was very much the, What the actual was that? Yeah. Well, at least good on them. They kept it quiet, I guess. It's probably for a good reason. Because we all think it's a dumb idea, but there we go. I'm hoping it's a mistake, if you know what I mean. Alright. Getting so fed up of these bobbins getting longer every time I do something. Yes, my day wasn't too bad. I felt quite positive today, which is quite unusual. Had a good sleep. That was true for sure. Although I did wake up thinking I was in a hospital at one point, and I'm not quite sure what that was about. Because I wasn't. It was my room. You know, I wasn't abducted by aliens or anything exciting. I don't know about everybody else here in the UK, but North seem awfully hot this evening. Actually, I've just had a really horrible thought. That's just down the road. It's about 10 miles away. Yeah. I have never been, actually. I haven't watched it live in person, but I know exactly where it is. But I've never actually been myself. There's quite a few. Yeah, it's really, really quite close. It's, you know, it's kind of down the road, swing right a bit, and it's kind of on the left. You know, it's really. It's close enough. But it is one of those kind of moments where, in my younger days, if I'd moved up here when I was 18 or so, I'd have fucking been up there chucking myself down after the cheese, right? But ever since I had my car accident, I have a bit more healthy respect for pain, and a bit more respect for the recovery process. I just want to check that this actually works when I take this off. Yes, it does. Good. So, you know, I do have this kind of healthy respect for it. Pretty much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Apart, as I say, age 20, I would have loved to have had a go. Age 50-something, no. Now, obviously, when I moved up here, I was 30, but as I say, you know, 10 years prior, I'd had my car accident. I had a healthy respect for a level of accidents and pain by this point. So, yeah, no. However, I do find, you know, I am kind of pleased that, you know, the tradition is kept up. And that should you want to be insane and chuck yourself down after a lump of cheese, I do hope they get to keep said cheese at the bottom, because that would just totally suck if you didn't. And it better be nice frigging cheese. It can't better be kind of like shit cheese, that plasticky stuff. It better be nice. But I do find it funny that, you know, some of the pictures that always come out are people folding in ways the human body was never designed for. And it's kind of like, yep. That's going to hurt in the morning. I can just imagine turning up for work going, phoning in and going, "Hi boss, I can't come in." Well, why not? Well, I threw myself down the hill after the cheese at the weekend, and well, I broke 28 bones in my body, sprained pretty much everything else, and what didn't break or sprain is bruised, you know. Well, exactly. It is not a sport for the weak-minded. It really isn't. And, you know, Granny would be best advised not to ever give it a go. I mean, to be honest, it's not a hill that, even if you look at it, it's not a hill you want to be trying to walk down, let alone run chasing a block of cheese. For those who do not know, in Gloucestershire, well, it's in Gloucester, but in Gloucester there is I know it's not Gloucestershire, it is Gloucester. There is a yearly event to chase a large round of cheese, so kind of, you know, big round of cheese, down a hill. But this hill has an angle on it kind of like this, right? And it is not a smooth hill, because it is a hill. It is made of grass and mud and stones and the like. Now, obviously, over the years, many heads have been used to polish the stones along the way. So there isn't usually too many cuts and you know, lacerations at the bottom. But breaks, bruise, sprain, and everything else is definitely Naughty Celt sent me the link to the video. Should we watch it, people? Because, you know, that could be a fun thing to do. So this is what we British think of doing. Just, you know, all in the name of sanity. Hang on. Alright, hang on. So, this is 11 minutes, so we shall briefly watch this because, well, frankly, it is kind of funny. Well, yeah, basically it is a bunch of nutters. So let me sort my desktop out a bit so that we can do this. Right, okay. Right, so if I show my desktop, hang on, desktop, transition, shrink, make this bigger, make this properly bigger. We shall watch the joys of chucking yourself down a hill. Well, that's really weird. You should have. Hang on. It should do. It did the other day when I did some video thing. I'm sure you could hear it. I know I can hear it. I think that's the problem. I can hear it, you can't. Hang on. Let me kill this copy of Media Player. Hang on. Get rid of that. And it's in Internet Explorer. Hang on. Let's do the old volume mixer. And I want Internet Explorer. Edge, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I want it to go to this means I won't hear it now, but that's fine. It's supposed to be capturing it. Hang on. Desktop. Let me... clearly not. Okay. Hang on. Might be able to change it. Hang on. Audio application capture. Go. Internet Explorer. Go. Right. Let's see if this works. You'll have to tell me because, of course, I can't hear what you hear, so... Fuck's sake. Well, that's where I put the same stuff for, that's where I put the same stuff for the sound. So, for example, all of the sound for here, so where's the music? The music goes to, the output for this goes to that device, so you should have heard it. Let's... Oh, I know why. Hang on. Do that. There you go. Let's try again. Hang on.
Nauticout said, no.
Live without it. I'll play with it for another day.
Nauticout said, I heard the TTS though.
I can't do everything, Nauticout.
Nauticout said, local rugby team catching them.
I keep looking to see if there's anyone I know in it. So, I mean, I doubt it, but, you know. That was harsh. Oh, fuck.
Nauticout said, her face was a picture.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of the injuries seem to be people v people colliding in new and unexpected ways. I do think the best answer has to be start rolling and keep rolling, you know? But in a forwards direction, not
Nauticout
a
said,
random
later
direction.
it's Guy versus Planet.
Yeah. It's almost hold on to your ankles and just roll, you know? I like this medic. Maybe an ankle or two, yeah. To be honest, it'd be the ankles that would... Ankles and wrists. Oh, he's still alive, he's alright. He moved. I have to say, the whole blankets up thing is a little bit
Mikaketsumi
more
said,
like they died.
bet he's back next year.
Oh, I bet he's back next year. I did, but as a... Dear God. I didn't realise there were quite so many races. Ouch, that's going to hurt.
Nauticelt said, few beers he'll be good.
Well, exactly. I mean, as I say, my if forced to do it, I would grab my ankles and deliberately just roll. And let gravity do what it will, you know? Ouch. Why do I keep hearing someone hitting something hard? Oh, ouch. Oh, yeah, he's very much away with the fairies, that one. Oh, he's moving, he's alright. As long as he hasn't broken his neck and he can move and he's still alive. Yeah, that seems to be the general gist of the day, doesn't it?
Mikaketsumi said, I am hurt. I am very much hurt. Where's my beer?
Yeah, fleet of ambulances says it all. Yeah. Yeah. What can I say? What can I say? This is what our county does for fun. Yeah. We hurl ourselves kind of off a grassy cliff into the oblivion after a lump of cheese. I mean, as long as it's good cheese, I don't see a problem with it. You know? But yeah, Gloucestershire cheese rolling is, well, you know, the highlight of our nation. I don't know. Most of them came from over it, I think. I know what it's like. Yeah. I was hoping to see a few more people I work with, you know, chucking themselves off a hill, because that would be worth that would be worth a lot. That would. Apparently, the moon is doing something odd. Hang on. You know, people do dumb shit all the time, so, you know, it's hardly a first. They have been doing the cheese rolling a long time. I think it's a bit like... It's a bit... fuck off, spam bots. I'm getting really fed up with Twitch's ability not to identify spam bots, yet my stuff is spot on every single time. Oh no, this was Mikaketsumi with rednecks. Apparently you're allowed that. You know. Well, I mean, this is the thing. this is part of the thing, right? Is that when people have had a bit of alcohol, people are a little bit more up for fun and frolics. And now I don't drink. Now it's not because I can't, it's usually because I'm driving. But I have won a few things at some drunken events while sober. Now they weren't those kind of things. I won a t-shirt because I could take my bra off and put it back on without getting undressed. All I had to do was take my bra off, which most women will be able to tell you is very feasible. But I also had to put it back on and done up, which did. So you have to take it off, wang it round your head, put it back on, which I did most absolutely. So I won a t-shirt for that. I got a prize for being able to do a cartwheel while holding a pint of beer and not spilling any. I won a wheelbarrow race. Well, there are some fun things, right? And I do think that a level of while impaired sports would be far more fun. So, tennis and table tennis while impaired. Golf while impaired. Golf cart racing while impaired. Because although you can get up to a speed, it's not a lot of speed. You know, a few things like that. You know, a bit of the while impaired scenario, I think definitely could make the Olympics a little bit more watchable. Because one of the things that it used to be true, it doesn't seem to be true anymore, is that as part of the Olympics, if you were a professional sports person, i.e. it was your only job, and it was your only thing you did, you were not allowed to take part in the Olympics. You could not have professionals. Whereas, well, that's clearly not the case today. So I find that slightly frustrating. Go away, moth. I find that kind of thing slightly frustrating because, well, it was supposed to be for non-professionals, and they all then get 58 tons of sponsorship and you know, round the world tours and books, and well, then you're kind of a professional now, dude, because you've been paid to do it. So I don't, and I'm going to voice a very unpopular, potentially, opinion at this. I also don't think you should get knighted for being a good sports person. I kind of don't, or for an actor particularly, but, you know, I would much rather it went to outstanding people who did something of value rather than prounced around in TV, you know, pretending to be a duck or whatever it was, right? And don't get me wrong, there are some people who've been knighted, and in a way, I'm not, you know, Ian McClellan, Patrick Stewart, you know, these kind of people, those, you know, those level of people, I don't have a problem with. Well, basically, you should have to do something for the good of others, and I'm sorry, but your job isn't one of them. Now, that detracts from military and otherwise personnel, but many of them, you know, do deserve recognition, but surely, you know, much like, you know, the Victoria Cross and all the rest of it, they have their own ways of recognising outstanding courage, actions as part of their job. And I kind of find it a little bit weird when you get kind of... It's a bit like the honorary degrees things that universities hand out to famous people. I don't entirely get that either. What does that achieve for anybody, you know? I also kind of think it's a little poor sometimes that, well, yeah, that'll be kind of fun. I'd probably turn up and watch for that. Hell, Naughty Cat, you could pick me up on the way and we'd make a day of it, right? It is one of those kind of things, right? Is that I don't necessarily expect them to have slain a dragon, but you know, it don't be, just because you know you're famous does not mean you should get knighted or otherwise. It's, you know, that's what you set out to do. Go away, moth. I know there's a light on. Well, I can't sit. You will end up dead in a minute. Go away. Hit me in the face one more time and you really will be dead. How did you do that? Well, it just strikes me as, like a lot of these things, is it's a bit like the participation prizes. Just because you took part does not mean you should get a prize. You might be able to, you know, a certificate to say I took part in the, you know, the Olympics or whatever. Fair enough. You know, maybe you didn't do well enough to get anything, but you know, some form of confirmation that you were there and you tried. I have no problem with a simple certificate, but when you get a prize for participation, I kind of feel it's a little bit unnecessary. And you know, let's face it, every actor sets about to be the next Tom Cruise, insert whoever idol you choose to be, but he's a well-paid midget, so, you know. They want to be recognised in every house, they want to earn millions per film, right? That's their aim. Every actor goes into acting kind of with that as an aim. Now, that's not directly necessarily them. Some do it because they enjoy it. But, you know, anyone who wants to make it their career, that is their aim. They want to be a household name earning millions of pounds. And then they get all pissy when they can't go anywhere because people recognise them. Well, what did you think was going to happen? You know, no, Tom Cruise cannot pop down to the local gas station, pick up a pint of milk. No, he can't. Well, duh. You have people for that when you earn that much money. And this is kind of, I think, where a lot of it goes, is that if you've got to that point that you're a household name, then you've already been recognised for your success. You should not need more. And I would like to think that should I have found myself in such a position, I would actively turn it down. That, I'm sorry, but give it to someone who actually deserves it. You know, I appreciate that you think so highly of me, but, you know, this was my job. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people who do their job and who aren't recognised, who... Sorry, my machine just went really, really quiet. What the fuck's going on? Why has my machine stopped making noise? It's like the fan stopped. I don't think it has. It sounds like the fan stopped. Hang on. No, it's still going, or at least something's still going. But it sounded like a hover jet a minute ago, and suddenly it's infinitely quiet to the point that I can't hear it at all. Oh no, there it goes. It's interesting, the light's gone off as well. Only the back one. Okay. Loading, it says. Just a bit worried that my computer's about to eat itself because it got too hot or something. Sure is taking its time. I wonder if the back fans died. Well, I need a fucking torch, and I don't have a bloody torch. I only have a phone. I can't tell from here. Hang on. Let me get up and have a look. I've got a feeling my back fan's died. Yeah, it has. It's got an eye for a pissy. Yeah, my back fan's died. Give it a smack. Hang on. When in doubt, smacks usually work. Poking it to see if it's actually, or sort of actually. Yes, I do. Come here. I want. There we go. Right, the light may have died, but the fan itself hasn't, so that's alright then. I don't give a shit about it lighting up. Just the least of my worries, to be honest. Hello! Oh, hello! Sorry about the ads. Where did I put the scissors? far too short. I also know why it's gone so quiet. Alexa, fan on. The fan that I had on is off because I turned it up. So I've got to get up and turn it on again. Because it is quite hot in here. I'm not quite sure why it's so hot in here, but that doesn't help. Right. Well, I am not the greatest historian on the matter. However, it is something that came about well, you're very welcome to come and ask all the questions you like. I may not have the answers. However, I can try. I won't call it a talent. As we established yesterday, it is not for those who are of weak will. You have to be very stubborn, I feel, to complete your lace project, because it is sent to try you. It's not a patience thing. It's not patience. It is stubbornness. And there is definitely a difference. Oh yeah, definitely spite. How did I learn? Well, about 12, I think I was, somewhere around there. My cousin came to visit my gran and brought some with her. She was younger than me. Actually, I must have been older, because I could have sworn I'm a good few years older than she is. But maybe it's not as much older as I thought. Anyway, and she couldn't have had less interest in doing it. It was clearly something her mother had decided for her that she would be doing. You know how mothers can be. So I'm trying to adjust my mic because I keep about to punch it in the face a few times. So, well, I kind of did the, hey, what's that? Because my mother was very much into crafting, but she didn't stick at anything. The only thing she did primarily for any reasonable amount of time was knitting. And if I tell you the way my mother taught knit and taught me to knit, couldn't have been more wrong if you'd applied a law of tried an awfully hard, because none of her cast on or cast offs were stretchy, which make jumpers really interesting. Every time she changed colours, there was always a hole. Every time she did an increase, there was a hole. Every time it just was full of holes, and it frankly was not good. And so as a result, other than I was a child and I was slow at it, I didn't really get on with knitting because, well, it didn't kind of inspire me. You know, if this is how it's done, I kind of see why everyone makes jokes about handmade items, right? Anyway, I had a go, and it was, for want of a better word, a children's book on how to make lace. And it had a strip of, I don't know, barely wider than this to do, and you did like, you know, probably even short. It was to do almost shorter than those. You know, it wasn't even this long. It was kind of about this long in the end. It was a tiny strip of nothing, right? And I kind of finished it off for her and went, oh, it was all right. And what I'd done was very neat and tidy and looked like the picture, so I was quite pleased with myself. And when I got home, it was like, Mum, I did this thing when I was at Granny's, because I used to stay at my grandparents' for about 6 weeks during the summer, during the school holidays. So, you know, I'd go home with tales galore, right? And it was like, Mum, I tried this thing. And now, obviously, she'd spoken to my dad on the phone. Well, my parents spoke to my grandmothers. They already knew. But, you know, I told them all my stories like they didn't know. And my mother sought out a local lady. I don't know how she went about it, but she found a local lady who gave me 3 lessons. And basically, I made another strip of what's known as cloth stitch, which is this kind of solidy stuff here. I did a half stitch, which is, so for example, this is half stitch, cross and twist, and you do that across, so one pair, one, they don't tend to stay in pairs so much that way. And I did something else, I can't remember what it was, but I did something else, I think it was half stitch, which is cloth stitch with an extra twist on the end of it. And that was it. That's all I did. We didn't actually finish them. I would do so many inches and she'd go, right, that's enough of that. And then we'd move on to the next bit. So I had 3 lessons and that was it. And, well, because I could only really make strips, I never actually got to make anything of any interest because, well, I'd only learnt 3 stitches. I'd only learnt about making a simple strip. And I'd never got, you know, I didn't know how to finish it. So that was a bit of a bust. So I kind of let it drop because, you know, I actually wanted to make lace edging for a hanky for my dad. But I couldn't. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to turn a corner. I didn't, you know, I could have made some strips and like sewn them together and it would look really shit. But that was kind of all I could do. So I didn't. And part of me wanted to make a lace hanky, of course, just to be really very me. But again, didn't know how to do it. So I didn't. And roll on till basically last year, where I woke up one day with this kind of like, and I always tell the tale because my brain is like another person. It's like there's, you know, the devil and the angel on the shoulder kind of deal. And I wake up and my brain kind of goes, Liz, yes, brain, I want to, here we go, make lace, said my brain. Brain, we haven't done that for a while, you know. I don't have any of the bits. Yeah, but I really, really want to, says Brain. Yeah, but I haven't got any of the bits, Brain. Yeah, but we could get bits. Well, yes, Brain, we probably could. What exactly do you want to make, Brain? I don't really know, but I really want to make lace. Fine, I'll get some bits. So I got some wooden dolly pegs and used the upturned top of a thing because while this is a proper lace making pillow, I actually quite like the one I made better for some reason. I just do. Anyway, so I let Brain make a bookmark and thought that was going to be all of it. And Brain's going, yeah, I really like this. Okay, Brain. And Brain's going, I want to make a curtain. What? I want to make a curtain. Brain, you've made like 2 or 3 bookmarks by this point, and now you want to make a book, or now you want to make an entire neck curtain. Yeah. Brain went and measured said window. Brain, that's like 18 and a bit inches by 38 inches. Yeah, I know. How the do you think you're going to make that? Oh, we can do squares, said Brain. So here we are making squares. Now, I will point out that the 9 squares that I am making are not the original plan. The original plan was there was going to be 18 squares. And that we have given up on the 18 squares because, well, we found a better way. Shit, where's that gone? Panic, panic, panic! Send out the army. Where's it gone? Where's my square of happiness? Where's my square of happiness? Is it wrapped up in some cloths? I mean, that's quite a possibility. Yes, there it is. Phew! I thought I'd lost it. Alright. So, the reason we're giving up on square is, well, if I grab square, hang on. So, a completed square looks like this. It has... I'm not alone. There are a few amongst us who have the same problem, which is, oh, I made something the size of I made, you know, kind of like 3 stitches of nothing. Well, the problem is we don't want to do small because, well, what the hell do you do with the small one, right? I mean, for example, well, with all due respect to all of us, if you can cross a pair of bobbins, well, you can do it a lot more times, and how many more times is just a number, right? Same with sewing, same with... In principle, if you can do 1 stitch, you can do 1,000,000,000 stitches. Now, we all know that it's not quite that friggin' simple, but same with knitting, crochet, frankly, weaving, the whole shebang. In principle, though, if you can do 1-inch square, you can do a king-size bedspread, right? And this is where our brains let us down. So this is a square. Now, obviously, if I join 2 squares, she says pulling out another square, right? There is going to be this big solid kind of line where you join the squares together. And it will look like squares joined together. Now, I knew this when I started because, well, I'm making squares. Duh. Right? I was aware of this. But as time grew on and I got a little bit bored of making the identical triangles because we are on, what, triangle 33, I think it is now. I came to wanting... And let me fold this over for a minute. No, that won't help. I need to cover a bit up so that you get the full reveal. You may have seen it if you've been on YouTube. So anyway, if I do this and cover this, I made a couple of strips. And here on the left was a join. Now, it looks bold, because it is. But there are holes in between it. And it looks like part of the pattern. And I was very pleased with myself. I didn't invent the snakes, but I seem to have been the one to articulate that the snakes could come out like this. Because people had done things where the snakes showed. Not usually, no. No, they don't. But I have made a better join. And now this one, while again you can still vaguely see it, it is much more invisible. And this is where we're at. We are at the need to make strips. Now, I like these. But what the problem I'm having at the moment is, what strips do I actually make? So there's 3 strips here, each about the same size as a square. If I do this, you'll see what I mean. One strip is about half a square. It's slightly under, she says, trying to make it line up. Where is it? There's the edge. It is about half a square, right? So a whole one is very similar in size to, so 2 strips are about the size of a square. Now, interestingly, the square usually takes me about a month to finish. The 2 strips took me 2 weeks. Now, there's no logic for that other than I did do some of it off stream. So, okay, let's pretend it takes about the same amount of time. But to me, there is a big difference. If I take one of these squares, they're quite dense to look at, which is not a problem. And they don't wilt very much, right? Whereas if I pick these up and kind of ignore the third one, for example, they crumple and wilt, and it's much lighter an area. And, well, frankly, a bit more net curtaining. So there are other advantages to the strips. So obviously there's a top and a bottom. Well, if you encompass the top and the bottom inside a piece of cloth, even if it's a very thin bit of cloth that you've turned into bias tape, it gives it a very neat edge. The problem with the squares is, as you're seeing with this, you start on a diagonal. So on the back of every single square, this happens to be this diagonal, there is a load of knots. And if I hold it, you can see, especially if I zoom in, hang on, in there. I want a dark thing. Where's a dark thing? There's a dark thing. Come here, dark thing. I need a background. Right, dark thing. If you look, you can see all of the ends of this. So when it's folded out, I mean, you know, if I turn it over, they're fairly transparent. You don't see them while looking at it, but you can feel them, right? And you can see where the join was. It really is quite obvious if you look, knowing that that's the join. You can now see that along here, it does look a little funky. Where, of course, if I've got the join right, I mean, obviously, you know, we all know that this is made out of strips. But if you look here, other than it looks a bit like a fold line, and I have an idea on how to reduce that as well, the only starts are here at the start, and crudely done at the moment, but at the bottom. Well, if you roll the bottom up into a bit of fabric, and as I say, it can be the thinnest cotton in the history of man, but you roll them up, you can kind of temporarily lay this down and glue it on, and, you know, fold the rest over and sew it down so that, you know, obviously you make a bit of an allowance for it to go inside, so there's a bit of lace inside, but you can kind of fold it over on itself. So if I do it at the top, which is what I do with my, where's a bit of cloth? Hang on, it's easier to do it with actual cloth. Hang on. So if I do it with the blue bit, all right, what I do when I'm hemming things usually is I take like the raw edge and I'll fold it over a little bit and then fold it over again, so you end up with a really nice edge to it. And if inside, you know, here you do it again, so you take, I haven't got anything I can do it with other than a piece of paper. I'll use an envelope. So not got my address on it, so it doesn't matter. But if you fold it over and make bias tape, so you fold it over like this and you get a piece of fabric, fold it over, and then you fold it over again, right? You tuck the lace in between, so there are nice edges. You then sew it along this line. You've got a nice edge with, and obviously this is incredibly thin and this is obviously not, but you fold it all in, and you will end up with a very nice bottom that's fairly light, but also strong for attaching to curtain rail. What more could you want? And so, while it wouldn't be made as one piece, it would look a lot more like I made it in one piece, because I would like to make it in one piece, but I've also got what I define as almost bobbin phobia, in that there's nearly 100 bobbins when all of these are on. When I get down to the middle here, there will be the best part of 100 bobbins on my pillow. I can cope with that. I could cope with a small handful more, but not many more. We worked out the other day that to make the light and airy this, which is at a wider grid than this, is around 700 and something bobbins. Not pairs, but 700 and something bobbins. Probably more. I think it probably is nearer. Because if that's 100 and you need 7 times that, it's kind of 700 and something bobbins, right? So, give or take a few, right? That's a lot of bobbins. And should the dog knock the cushion off the table, that's going to be a long week of picking them apart and untwisting them all and keeping them in order. And so as a result, kind of not in the mood for 700 bobbins. I mean, I'd love to do it as one piece. I would love to sit down and, you know, kind of draw on a piece of paper and, you know, individually mark each unique thing and be able to place it anywhere. And yeah, it'd be great. But I can't do 700 bobbins. I've got 700 bobbins. I can get more bobbins. I have more than 700. I've got many different kinds of bobbins, but I've definitely got 700 bobbins. I just don't, at this time, feel my sanity would take the simultaneous use of 700 pairs of bobbins, 700 bobbins, 350 odd pairs of it. I just don't think that that's kind of the done thing, right? And so as a result, I am avoiding doing it in one piece. I really do want to do it in one piece. Or at least make a net curtain-y type thing in one piece. Now, the reason I'm being a bit cagey about that is because you can make like doodle lace, which kind of has wiggly kind of bits, which you do with about 5 pairs of bobbins. That would be ideal for making a net curtain, because it's only got 5 bobbins, and you can doodle around almost as much as you like. If you can define a tessellating pattern, you can make it as big as you want. But I want it to look nice, and ideally I want it to have a bit of a mesh background. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. So with that in mind, we are planning the strip version that will look a lot like I did it in one piece, but didn't. Now, we were mapping out yesterday, as you may have seen or may not, in Lace 8, my strips, and dear God, that does test your patience. Why have I just put those away? I've got another row to do. Donut. Oh, stupid one. So it is just one of those portions where you find yourself kind of going, I'm really looking forward to the strips, but I'm not very decisive as to what I actually want it to look like. I know various aspects I don't want, but I don't really know what I do want. But of course, you can't really start and think about it later. That doesn't really work. So, you know, it's not like knitting where you can kind of cast on and do the ribbon at the bottom and then decide, do I want cables? Do I not want cables? Do I want colour fancy work? Do I want... No, you can't do any of that. You can't kind of come back to it with, actually, I've changed my mind, I'm going to do this instead. Because, well, underneath it is your pricking, and that's, well, you've got to have kind of pre-done that. Going freeform is a recipe for disaster. If you put down a dotted grid and kind of went for it, you'd get it all off. You know, it wouldn't be central. It would look pretty hideous, to be honest. So it is kind of a requirement that you start off with some form of plan. And so as yet, I am uncommitted to the items on my strips. Although, to be fair, I do have a horrible feeling I'll probably end up making what I did for the first strip, pretty much, and calling it quits. But I have a few tests that I want to do before I make that declaration of giving upness. Because there are an awful lot of choices. And as demonstrated in the lace 8 thing, well, enough to make nearly 3 strips of out of 4 that would constitute a strip for the window. Now, what I will do with this test strip afterwards is only known to man. What I would most likely consider doing with it is chopping it up and calling it bookmarks. But I don't need any of those either. So, and this is part of my problem, is that I don't need bookmarks because I read a Kindle. Therefore, and she's just realised she didn't tuck those in. Well, it's going to look a bit shit. Oh well. Should have noticed that earlier, Kimber. Oh well. Yeah, no, they're all too tangled in for that. Oh well, such is life. So yeah, I do have plans, but at this time, the plans are not firm plans, other than they will be strips of approximately yay wide, and I'll need 4 of them at 9.5 inches to cover my window. Because I'm only covering the glass bit, I'm not doing a full head to toe of the actual frame, because, well, why do that to yourself? But of course, the other thing I could do is change my mind and make a piece of lace to be like a banner across the top that I could then attach to the strips, or the bottom, or whatever. But I don't think so, to be honest. But once I've done that, well, I don't know what to do next, because, you know, if we look at how long it's taken me to make these squares, bear in mind I started in September, and it's June tomorrow. Well, technically today, but June tomorrow, because of course I'm British, and it's already June the 1st here. I've been doing this a while now, and well, you know, I have every reason to assume that on average there is no reason why the Revenge of Curtain Mark II, whatever we wish to call it, is going to be significantly faster. Because it's still, I mean, the only good thing is it would be 7 strips, so there's only 7 starts, 7 stops. I don't have to sew the ends in, which I'm shit at. So to a large extent, you know, that should speed it up a bit. I don't have to turn my pillow. I don't have, hopefully I won't need to spend my entire life shortening bobbins like I am now, because it's getting on my nerves. It is just one of those aspects, is that I have plans, but I can't firm the actual pattern in my head. Otherwise I'd probably start on it, just because I am really excited. Now, I'm still really excited to see how this turns out. It's not that I hate the squares. I've just got a little bit bored after the triangle 33, you know, that 32, and this is 33, that I'm a little bit sick of the identical triangles. Now, in terms of the strip, you'd think that gets boring. Well, it will, but of course, if I need, say, 7, I can either go A, B, A, B, A, B, A, or I can go 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, or frankly, all manner of, all manner of stuff. And so I can have pairs, I can have each one different, I could do them all the same. So there are choices, and again, I don't need choices. Really don't need choices in my head. But I do need to do the strip of testing so that I can peruse a number of front runners for choices of decoration, and make my decision based upon said decoration as to which ones will make the final cut or make it into a last strip, which will then be the conclusion trial of, does this look like I think it should, and are they well spaced apart? Because obviously spacing matters. Now, in some ways I don't want them to be busy, in other ways I kind of do. I mean, as a tomboy, I'd like to point out that lace making is one of the dumbest hobbies that I could ever have picked up, for I do not need any form of lace in my life, nor do I want it on any clothing. Frankly, I don't really want it on anything. And so, as a result of which, it is kind of daft that this is my hobby. And I didn't put a pin in, did I? Oh, for goodness sake, woman. You need to go in there, which then puts you back in here. That's fine. Some idea there's a pin there. Now you can come out. So yeah, lace making is really a dumb hobby for me because I don't really need or want any of the things that I make. The only reason I'm making a neck curtain is it's the only thing I could think of that I would use. But I don't really need them. I mean, a little piece of me, and I use the word as little as I hugely can, would consider making some half-length neck curtains to go in here and in my study. I've got a little, I call it a study, it's a tiny little box room, frankly, on the ground floor. So that it helps a little bit reduce the peering in kind of scenario. But other than that, no one walks past my house, so it's not really a problem. I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac on a private road in the arse end of nowhere. I mean, people don't walk past this house. It's just not really a thing. The only people who do walk past this house are my neighbours, and I know my neighbours. I don't dislike any of my neighbours, so I don't really have a problem with that. But I think the potential of a kind of half neck curtainy job, should people drive in or whatever, and usually food delivery people, to be fair, or Amazon men. So with that in mind, I don't think that would be a bad idea. But at the same time, it's only an idea. It's not the most essential thing in life, But then I'd need to make one that's kind of 3 windows wide, which I think is nearly 2 metres. Well, it's like 1.75 metre or something. So that's quite wide. So that's a lot of shorter strips, or have them on their side and make them long strips, Don't know which would be worse, to be honest. Because I think it would be about Yeah, it's got to be about 7 strips down if you make them on their sides. So I'd need to make, 175, in which case I might as well make some for me patio doors. But they're a bit wider. The actual pillow on my patio doors is a wider thing. That's right. My brain is farting away gently here. So yeah, I wouldn't mind making some for that. Would help with the bird strike kind of thing, because I get lots of birds flying into my windows at the back. So some net curtainy type things would be good for that, because they'd stop thinking they can fly through them. What the fuck am I doing? What the hell's going on? I've lost my marbles somewhere. Absolutely lost my. Yeah, I don't know either, because this square here has no bottom pins. I'm not here yet. This is the wrong square of working. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm not sure quite how I got here. I obviously lost Ed some marbles somewhere. Probably working with lace 8 yesterday. Because we all know that that definitely was trying. You stay out the way for a minute. So you. Now have we done? See, we haven't done that corner, but we did do that corner. We just didn't do it right. And you've just got longer. I felt you leap off. You need to go in there like that. Let me do the photo thing and see if I screwed up anything else before I get too carried away. Not photo. Yeah. Moth, what did we talk about earlier? I mean, I know you have a level of sentientness, so can you listen to my words? Stop getting in my face or you're going to die. Okay, so that's alright. It doesn't look like I've screwed anything up. Are you the fly in a former life? That's right, there's a fly who's been picking on me for the last couple of days. And now there's a moth who's decided that this is obviously a fun game. Words got out. Go pick on Kimber. She lives here. She gets really irate when you fly at her. Yeah, she does. I ever seem to do with these bobbins is make them short. It just drives me up the wall. Give me this bobbin. Thank you. No, and they do it so much as well. It wouldn't be so bad, but they always seem to be like really proud of themselves and kind of come along and go flick, 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 flick. It's like a bully picking on you and kicking the back of your chair, you know? My problem is that no matter how small a thing it may be, if it lands on me, yeah, I think we all were a little bit, but I wouldn't call it sensitive skin. I explained this one yesterday. I could probably go and wash my face with bleach and it really wouldn't care. I don't have sensitive skin in terms of chemicals. But I do have sensitive skin in that if a single thing so much as touches a hair or anything, I can feel it. And as a result, it's kind of really irritating because, of course, they don't get on you and sit still. No. They kind of shuffle around a little bit. And so, of course, I keep feeling them move. So it's not even like they come and sat on you and they're now just going to kind of like sit and watch what you're doing. Because kind of I'd probably put up with that, but no, it's because they kind of land and then kind of do the and you're like, just fucking stand still. That's why I'm not a mother. Small children who don't stand still, just no. Either have a pee because you need a pee, or stand still. Those are your choices, you know. And as an insect landing on me, crawling on me, your choices are to leave the vicinity immediately, or know that I am going to be coming for your soul, and that your life should be measured in milliseconds. Because of course I am considerably bigger than you. There, me versus fly, no contest. Of course you've got to catch the little shit first. And as I was explaining yesterday, the fly has some form of interdimensional portal, because while I normally can see flies really well, I have only seen this actual fly once, and that was when he took a walk down the white metal bits that are the legs of part of the legs of my computer table. So with that in mind, was kind of, yeah, okay, kind of I can cope with that, I'll cope with that, but, so I know he's just a normal common garden housefly. Other than that, you don't see him. You feel him, you don't see him. And I know it's the fly because I did briefly once see him land on me, and the moment I, of course, went to go and get him, he'd back it off. But realistically, that's the only time you see him. So you kind of get, there's a fly, now there's no fly, that's it. He doesn't fly around the room, he doesn't fly up at the windows to get out, he's not circling the lights, he's not even doing low-level laps around the room. He is a ninja. He is a ninja fly, and this little dirtbag really needs to go practice his ninjaness somewhere freaking else, For I am not overly impressed. And now he seems to have taught a moth, so now you should be grateful I'm not one of my friends who is mortally terrified of moths. I have no real problem with moths. I can't say I like them, but you know, they don't fill me with dread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I'm not the kind of run wailing from the room kind of girl. I'm not like that with spiders. It's just that if they run at me, they're dead. That's just how it goes. Oh, and don't saunter casually over my foot either, because that's... Yay! Congratulations, Naughty Girl! Now, I am going to put these 2 pitiful bobbins in this stick, and because we haven't done it today, I am going to go
Stick, 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 stick.
there. Put you over there. You over there. You over here. And we need you. See, one of the other advantages you have when doing strips is that when you put bobbins to the side, unlike when you put bobbins to the side in a square for some reason, because you need the space, you tend to wrap them up the sides. But somehow all the threads leap and tangle in the pins. With my roller pillow, you don't seem to do that. You put them at 90 degrees in a big pile like this at the edge and work with the ones you want in the middle. And because you don't have to turn the pattern or anything like that, you just keep rolling and it has a little rolly thing in the middle. Because you do that, you kind of... The worst you do is knock the pile slightly forward as you roll the thing. And so, works really well. And so you don't end up tangling and untangling bobbins like this one's come out from behind the pin. Like that. You two have nothing to do with it. And I need one of you. It's only one of you. Ooh. No. Oh, Kimber, really? Christ's sake. How in the name of sanity is this always happening to me? My ability to screw up really knows no end. And you are far too long, because you're just annoying. You need to come out of there. Now, I need to go... Oh, I can't undo that. Shit face. Well, shitty doodah. Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, well, it's kind of obvious once you know, right? So let's stonk up a bit and left a bit. Right, let me get my full screen so I can be sure I'm showing you what I'm showing you. Hang on. That doesn't look particularly in focus. Or is that just my imagination? Hey, camera, wake up a bit. Come on. Yeah, that's as good as it's going to bother. Right, I need a pokey stick. This will do as a pokey stick today. This should have had a pair of bobbins coming out to the side. Now it kind of does, but they're actually not the bobbins you think they are. And I should have done this line before starting this section, because the pair that comes out here kind of should have gone into here, and it didn't in the way that it should. We're going to have to fudge it a little, which is less than ideal. So let's kind of fudge. I mean, one advantage of my net curtain is that no one else in the world will ever see it. So, stop getting longer! And I'm sure, as most crafters will know, the moment you have a problem and you're getting a bit frustrated because you don't know how you screwed it up so bad because you were paying attention, and at no point have you not paid attention, and somehow you've screwed it up, whether you've, managed to lose a stitch in your knitting, or you've, done a repeat too many, or it doesn't add up, or whatever it is, right? That the more you try and sort it out, the more frustrated and angry you actually get. The more you want to kind of kill things. And the more mistakes you seem to make, and that because now you're frustrated, you're making mistakes. And it doesn't help that it's like 9,000 degrees in here. What is the temperature in here? Alexa, what's the temperature on the downstairs thermostat?
The downstairs thermostat temperature is 23 degrees.
23. And that's at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was just noticing that doesn't look right. I think it's the angle, but it doesn't look right. No, it is just the angle. And of course you've got longer because you can. You're all baggy, so you will get longer, given a chance. You've got longer. See, I watched you roll off and get longer then. There's no call for that. What about making little sacks instead of these sticks? I wonder about having sacks to put the bobbins in. but then they'd just mingle inside the sack, so I suppose it's not much better for anybody. The problem with the sticks is that they tend to slide underneath the elastic, but because you can't feasibly make bobbin-sized holes along the sticks, you can't kind of pin them still. Make you shorter. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it would be nice if you're kind of like within an inch or so of each other. There you go. You now go in here because you are done. And why is it? Now I know there's a moth around, I can constantly feel things walking on me even though there aren't any. Fair enough. Sounds like a good plan, actually. I could do with a drink, actually. Well, I'm kind of getting bored of drinking Coke at the moment. Ping. That does look very good, Naughty Cat. Well done. Very tidy. I'll show it once the ads are over. Bobbins are being naughty. Actually, it's my right hand. My right hand's not doing its thing. The left hand's being quite reasonable. And considering I'm right-handed, normally you would expect my right hand to be the most cooperative of the two. But it's choosing not to today. Today it's picking violence. It feels. I need to have a good scratch. Hang on. See, I don't remember adding some, but I must have done. Yeah, my brain's not braining. Hang on. My brain is distinctly unbraining at the moment. And cohesional thought is not occurring. It's not even capable of doing under over without fucking it up at the moment. So I've 2, 3, 4. As always, if I stop in the middle of this, even though it should be bloody obvious which one I'm doing next, you make 2. The problem I have is that because I do this kind of streamlined process for my cloth stitch, rather than doing unnecessary moves, as we'll call it. So, for example, if I do a cloth stitch here at the edge, cloth stitch is cross, twist, cross. Well, that's 3 moves. But if you're doing many, you don't need to, because cross, twist, yes. But if you go to do the next one, which is cross, you then get to the next one, which is cross again. So realistically, what you actually do is just cross and twist your whole way across. The problem I'm having is even when you stop, and because one of your bobbins has got stupidly long and it's getting on your nerves, and thought I was going to get it then. The moth had come for an attack. If you look, this one goes over the last one, which means it has to. The next one, it would go underneath. My brain just was sitting there going, "I see that. I don't know what it means," and just kind of looking at there, going, "Blink, blink." I hate my brain sometimes. It was clever enough to work out that that's a good thing, but not clever enough to, at times it's not clever enough to keep going with it. It's just kind of shit. It's very annoying. It's very frustrating. When your brain just stops braining in the middle of things and you're kind of left floundering. It's a bit like you go upstairs to get something, and you get upstairs and you have no idea what it was you came up for. But it was important because you bothered to go upstairs to get it, and that you clearly wanted it because, you decided to actually go and get it from upstairs, whatever it was, and you're left sitting there. So you go downstairs and you're wondering why you're coming down the stairs now. And you kind of end up sitting on the stairs going, I don't know whether I should be going up or down. I don't know why I was doing any of it. And somewhere along the lines, I lost my glasses kind of thing. And you're like, give up. So yeah, I could do without my brain sometimes. And you have to be careful to make sure that you do actually discard some bobbins. Otherwise, it doesn't work out later. And that gets really upsetting. So, because then you have to undo it all and go back and do it again. So, I try and avoid doing that. But that's easier said than done. So, she says just checking she hasn't poked the pins for it. Naughty Cat sent me a message, and Naughty Cat's message contained a lovely picture. Let me get said picture for you. She says, trying to find where the... There it is. Looking for an icon, finding really hard not to find said icon. Let me save this. Hang on. So, let me do this. Download. Open with paint. There we go. And we should have lift off. This is what Nautica sent me. This is something he's just made. So this is made with a single strip of rope, which means that Naughty Celt has spent a lot of time on this. And does that not look neat, tidy and wonderful? From my own memory, there is a concrete square in the middle. So it's got plenty of weight. This is for burglar bashing. I mean, this is a doorstop. I actually don't know what Naughty Celt's going to have it used for, but this would make great for whacking burglars. I'm not quite sure what the little ring's for. I'm sure it's got great use, and he'll tell us later. But in my mind, I see a wonderful object that you would pick up and whack burglars with. It's even got a handle for extra kind of kick, you know? I think that'd be great. But yes, this is Naughty Celt's cube that he was talking about finishing earlier. So, very big round of applause for Naughty Celt. I think that's a really cracking piece of work. Very smart. I definitely like the idea of whacking burglars with it. This may not be its intended use, and it would be a shame to get blood on it, to be true. At the same time, though, it just screams to me burglar whacking. I do like how it all tucks in and looks very, very smart. True, it does. It's a bit like my black and silver bobbins, to be honest. It does look very good. I quite like the idea of burglar whacking though. Well, yeah, burglar whacking. If you haven't seen the YouTube video where some guy tries to jack a lady with a handbag and she goes batshit crazy on him and whacks him with it. Yeah, well, if you have seen the lady, she's kind of it looks like she's at the edge of a skate park or something, but she's kind of happily walking along minding her business, and this guy comes up behind her and tries to duck off with her handbag, and she literally wangs it as hard as she could at his head a couple of times, and then does him an uppercut. And then kind of casually strolls off as if that was a normal thing she does every day. And I love that lady. I don't know who she is, but frankly, there's a good reason to knight somebody, you know. Because he's left kind of holding his head, wondering what hits him. And the answer is, the handbag you tried to nick, dickhead, you know. Yeah, I love people like that. It almost looks like she's got bricks in a handbag, because this thing seems to have heft. It's not like one of those plastic handbags where they've got like one lip-seal in it. No. This thing looks like it's got rocks in it. I mean, it's quite a reasonable sized bag, but it's just the fact that when she swings it and it hits him, you kind of feel it, right? You can kind of see it vibrate down his entire soul. And let's see if I can find it. Hang on. Hang on. No. Videos. It's going to be one of those can't find it because now I want it kind of videos, isn't it? It's been all over YouTube, Facebook as a short video kind of thing. Well, yes, you'll soon spot if you ever see the picture somewhere else. Why is it you can... This is the problem with the internet. I've seen it in about 12 different places at different occasions, and now I want to see it. I can't find it. Stop licking that! Whatever it is, it's a horrible noise and it's all I can hear. I said... No, I can't find it. I'm usually quite good at finding things. The worst thing is I know it's shown it to me. And can I frigging find it? Because you know how they do. They have inevitable tons of stupid short videos that you can't not watch because it pollutes everything that you watch. And but when you want to see them, when you want to share it because you've seen it and you actually want to kind of share it with the world, it's the same as when you see an advert for something in a newspaper or a magazine. You remember exactly where you saw it and now can't find it. The problem is on my PC, I've noticed I don't get anything like as many short videos as I do on my phone. So I bet if I looked for it on my phone, it would come up. But that's no good to us. Could probably try and get me the link. Yeah, it'll never come up again. I'll never see it again now. You know that, right? Get off me thing. Problem I find with so many of these things is when you want to see a short video, it doesn't want to show you any. Yeah, it's not going to show me, is it? Yeah, half the time it won't let you pick, I want to see short videos. It'll only show, you know, it will say, here are 3 short videos you might be interested in, but that's it. You can't, I want to look at other short videos I may have seen, please. You know? You're just getting longer and longer and annoying me. Everything is annoying me because it's hot. Just had an idea. Hang on. YouTube. Not that you're probably going to do it. History. No, it doesn't shout on there. It might shout on my phone. I've noticed that if you have your YouTube thing logged in on more than what, you know, more than one device, it's amazing how it won't share the history between the two, but at the same time kind of does. So sometimes it will show you the history, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes it will be of right. At least this one's showing me that I have seen short videos, but I'm pretty sure it was before then. The problem is I may not have actually clicked on it, so although I've seen it, it's not showing me it, if you know what I mean. I watched a hell of a lot of shit on Monday. That was bank holiday, that's right. I'm sure I only watched it yesterday for about the 80th time. Can we not be making noise? Can we not be drowning things out and getting us copyrighted or whatever? Okay. Have you ever noticed you write things and it turns it into utter gibberish? See, I did not type that. I'm looking at my fingers. It's not going to show it for love nor money. Those are stupid AI wonky pictures that are just clearly fake. Apparently a load of blackheads for some reason. I searched for trying to take handbag. Apparently this means I want a picture of someone's ear with a load of blackheads in it. This is where you get really annoyed with searches and AI. How can it not find this video? How is it that you... I give up. I hate computers. Oh, but it's kind of funny because it is very cartoony. It is very much grandma whacking, whacks the thief kind of thing. And kind of is kind of amusing for all the right reasons, because he ends up really kind of dazed and everyone's, yeah, no one's got any sympathy for him, so I see there's two moths. There's a smaller yellowier one and a bigger whiter one. Great, just what I need. More moths in my life. That doesn't add up. Fuck off. That doesn't add up at all. No, something's gone wrong. that doesn't add up. So that's a pair. That would take us to the corner, but the corner is an even number of steps. So, although these are all tangled, and I can't see what the hell is going on, these two should be the bottom two. So I've missed adding a pair somewhere, which would imply I've missed removing a pair because I have the right number of pairs. So I've gone wrong somehow. Now, with any luck, somehow it's the last one. And I think it is the last one because these two do not come from the last pin. But that means somehow I've not extracted a pair somewhere, and that was back there. So let's undo this. You go over there. Let's go back to this pin, because I need to go back 2 pins. So make you shorter because you've got too long, and you shorter because you're just getting on my tits again. And undo. So you didn't get a pair, which is fine because part of the problem was that here, I need you back a moment to untangle you. You should already have come out of play. So you should already be in here, like that. Now this goes in here. And you've got longer again, even though I haven't done anything. Stop it. You're too long too. Why have I got a sore thumb? Well, I've got a sore. I've split my skin, look, on my thumb. You can probably just about see that there's a skanky looking bit. Now, let me get this right. You come out, which leaves us 3, which means you can't see. Gotta go back further, people. And will you stop getting longer? It's times like this I'm going to start super gluing shit down. But then of course that won't help at all. But just seriously, stay where you're supposed to be. Half hitches are the most useless things going when it comes to this. Yet this is the knot of choice from lace makers throughout centuries. They all say, oh, you just put a half hitch at the top. Yeah, well, mine don't stay there. And I know I'm not the only one, because there's whole roughs of people saying they don't stay. And people going, oh, we'll add an extra loop here and try doing this with it. Yeah, well, how about it just does its job, you know? So, you should be in at this point. Three. See, that's only 3, and that's not right. That is right, there's 4 with you there. Let's make you shorter, because everybody's too long, as always. This is where anyone's saying you need patience for this shit. No, it's not patience, you just need not to burn the shit out of it. Which I know is a form of patience, but stubbornness is not patience. Stop getting longer. How do they all do it? I mean, I can tug on it and it doesn't move. And 2 seconds later, it'll be like 3 foot longer, and you're like, didn't even touch it. Right, you need to sod off out the game. You're getting longer. I swear it has something to do with rolling, because I think they roll and get looser, and then as you pick them up and give it even the remotest bit of tension, it just slides on out. You kind of need these threads to stay slightly tensioned so they bugger off and keep out of confusing everything. So you end up with this, where it gets this, and of course the moment you pull it, it's suddenly too long. It just kind of comes loose. It's just really annoying. Utter frustration. This really shouldn't take this long. I mean, I know we've stopped a little bit today, but it's been 3 hours and I've done all of nothing, and yet it seems to have... It's just taken forever. Now, I know I was tying knots at the beginning, which, you know, rather than just picking up a bobbin and working with it, but is it really that slow a process? I know it doesn't help, but... Five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The pin. Which knots? The knots on your cube. I do really like your knots. I do like it. For some reason my right hand can't put these back on the thingy without my left hand doing it. So. Right. Much as I hate myself, with my temper getting shorter, I feel the need to go to bed. Partly because it's hot here, for no obvious reason than it is. And now my phone's being a dick, and has just taken like 6 pictures of my hand. Probably, but anyway, I'm gonna take the remnants of my sanity and go to bed. I will be back tomorrow in about, I keep looking at my clock and it says 25 to 5 because I haven't changed the batteries. What is it? It is nearly 2 o'clock, so I'll probably be back in about 12 hours once I've had a good snooze. And we will continue on and try and work on more of my square. We will probably procrastinate a lot more about the strips. We might do a bit more strip planning because I've got the bottom bit of the 3rd strip that I will start to... I don't have to work all the way down it. That's the truth of the matter. But well, why not? Yep, I wish you all a good night. For those of you who are with Nautical to myself in the UK, go to bed. For the rest of you who it is early evening, have a nice evening and all that stuff. If it's later where you are, go to bed. And we will hopefully convene tomorrow. And hopefully my temper... We all know that when it's hotter, tempers are slightly shorter, and annoying bobbin things do not help matters. And as I said, this is not a hobby about patience. It is purely about stubbornness, and well, this is why, because you know it is a thing. So good night everybody. I hope you have a nice snooze, and hopefully you can join me tomorrow. Take care, people. Bye-bye.